Beside the Palm, Season 3, Episode 3.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beside the Palm. Today we have with us our special guest, Hayden Messamore. Hayden, welcome. Am I saying your last name right?
Happy to be here. I think so.
Okay. Because I think is there an extra E in there? Sometimes I forget if it's pronounced or not. Okay. I don't have it written down in front of me. Maybe I should. So, with that great start, will you tell us how you came to St. Luke's and how long you've been here?
Sure. I have been at St. Luke's since August of 2017, so a little over 3 years or so. Mm-hmm. I came mainly by way of Rob Delaney. So I grew up in San Antonio, and I grew up going to University United Church, which is a similarly sized Methodist church in San Antonio. And Rob was my youth pastor when I was a sixth grader. And he left to come to St. Luke's right around seventh grade or so. And so I'd seen him periodically since then whenever St. Luke's came to San Antonio for mission trips or things like that. And so we were semi in touch. And when I moved to Houston after finishing school, my mom said that, hey, you're right down the street from Rob's new church. You should go check it out. And so I visited the Sunday after I moved to Houston, and I haven't been anywhere else since because it seems like a pretty good spot, and definitely similar to what I was familiar with from university back in San Antonio. Yeah.
What was Norland somehow involved too?
Yeah, well, Norlin is more involved with how I got to fine arts at St. Luke's. So originally I went in and I went to the story my first few Sundays, and I met with Rob, and I got plugged in volunteering with the student ministry. So I was leading like a sixth grade boys Bible study, and I hadn't done anything in fine arts for the first 6 months or so that I was here. But one Sunday I went to traditional service in the sanctuary, and I found myself sitting behind Abby Wonneberger, who I honestly did not know would be in Houston or in this part of Houston or anywhere like that, because she lives out in Katy. And I was sitting behind her, and she says, oh yeah, I was invited by Norlin to come join the bell choir for a day. And I'm like, oh, I grew up playing bells at university. Mind if I come in with you? And that was how I met Norlin. And that was my first sort of foray into the fine arts. I knew Abby from marching band at UT. We were both in the Longhorn band. And so that was one funny coincidence that I happened to be sitting behind where she sat, and then like, oh, I'm here for bell choirs. So I've been doing bells since I was in third grade, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm at almost like 17 years of bell experience.
Wow. I tell people that I started playing bells in high school, and they're like, wow, you started young, but I got nothing on you. Also, tell us more about stuff you've been involved in with St. Luke's, because I know it doesn't stop there.
Yeah, it's definitely started there. From handbells, Norlin told me, hey, we've got these musicals coming up, or a musical and a play. The one for this summer is State Fair. You should try auditioning, because we need young men. Because at the time, I don't think she knew of any that were going to audition. So I'm like, sure. I've never done anything like that. I'd never really been in a choir past fifth grade at that point. And so I was like, I don't know, maybe like a background role might be appropriate. But I went to those auditions in February, and I ended up getting chorus for State Fair. And I'm like, that's more than enough. I've never done any acting before. It'll be a good start. But then I got like supporting role in Father of the Bride, the straight play from that summer. And that was certainly a challenge, let's say. Coming from none acting to any acting it was a bit of a stretch. Yeah, but
and I think that was my first, because that was the summer of 18, I think, because that, which one came first, Father of the Bride or State Fair? Because one of them was
first.
Okay, because that was my very first Tapestry experience. So I remember that, and I didn't really know anybody's names at that point, so I know people, you were all involved, but I can't remember who did what.
I knew about 6 people's names at that point.
Yeah, I always forget them. You weren't there much longer than we were.
No.
So this is a great segue into my next question, though, which was earlier this year. Scott, was that this year already? Yeah. You played the role of the chairman and Mayor Sapsy in Tapestry Players' production of Mystery of Edwin Drood, right?
Yes.
And not only were your characters in many of the musical numbers, but you also had far and away the most dialogue in the show. Do you want to tell us how you prepared for such a huge role?
Honestly, this is going to sound kind of weird, but what I did was I found mine. I paid for it. I didn't download it illegally. Don't worry. And I just went through the cast list and found all of the roles that would probably be suitable for someone my age. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to read through all of these so I'm familiar with all of them. And I read through all the male parts probably 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, okay, I got these pretty well. And then I didn't get any of those parts. So I'm not all that good at memorizing lines like that. So what I did was just, I read the whole thing through, all the chairman's lines, about 6 or 7 times over the course of a flight on the way back. I was coming back from Maine, I think, flying back from Maine with my family. And I just read through the parts as many times as I could within that flight home. And then after that, I tried to consult them as little as possible. Like I would go back and check if needed, but I would just write through. I would start at the beginning, just write the lines on like a sheet of notebook paper in a coffee shop and just write as much as I could until I got to something I couldn't remember. I would go through, check everything I've done, and then start at the beginning again and write through until I was happy with a section, and then I would move on to the next one. So there's not really like a fun secret. It's just a lot of rote work to try to get it all. You know.
And I think you still had a lot of it up until recently. I remember Grace saying, I
can do the intro for you.
Yeah. You don't have to do that
maybe
today.
Most of the big speech. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to get it well enough that I could go off script a little bit without falling apart. So it was pretty deep in there at one point.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I know we're always impressed by. We always talk about it because there are nights where, someone just forgets a line or something doesn't happen at the right time. You always manage to seamlessly tie it all together and just kind of ad-lib it, and no one's any wiser.
That's a bit of a secret. Is one of the main reasons that I wanted, or I wasn't scared off by doing any sort of acting like that in the first place, like with the first State Fair show, is that I really enjoyed the improv and role-playing portion of when I played Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm like, that's my favorite part of doing that. So doing that when people already write the words will probably be pretty easy.
Oh, that's a fun little insight, putting it to real world scenarios. But so now, going off of all that, you're not just involved in the acting portion of Tapestry stuff. You're often involved with lights and props. Do you have a favorite area of Tapestry that you like to be involved with?
The lights are sort of new to me. I grew up very close to the lights and really all of the tech stuff because my dad was pretty much in charge of that at our church back in San Antonio. Like he would handle all the lights for the contemporary service and then a lot for the traditional as well, and any other sort of like one-off thing. He would set up the lights, order the new lights that we needed, build the sets, all that sort of thing. So I spent as many Saturdays at the church helping him do stuff as I did Sundays at the church for church. So I grew up doing that. And again, you can blame Rob Delaney for that. He's the one who got me into the sound booth for the first time in 6th grade. Pick the little awkward 6th grader out of the back and say, hey, you want to leave the big room and come into the small room and help us out. And so I was in charge of like media. So like slides and videos and things like that for my youth group from like 7th grade until graduation or so. So I am more comfortable doing that than I am any of the other stuff in Tapestry. I certainly have a lot more experience doing that stuff. Yeah, and that was the reason I didn't do any like youth choir or anything. I was too busy doing all the slides and stuff during the youth services. So
yeah, that's great. Or you have enough skills, you could probably run Tapestry as a one-man show.
I'm not volunteering for that, by the way.
So in addition to all of your Tapestry talents, it's no secret that you are among St. Luke's ranks of amazing bakers. I know we've personally benefited from many of your baked goods. Do you have any favorite recipes or things that you like to bake? And maybe how did you get into baking? Any story there?
The baking is entirely for selfish reasons, believe it or not. I joined the Longhorn Band, the UT marching band, as a senior, which is abnormal. I was certainly the only person that did it that year, but here I was coming into this group of people who had known each other for a long time, and sort of had either known each other from freshmen or were freshmen looking at a future of knowing these people more. So here I was with just 1 year of time to know everybody I should have known or would eventually get to know if I were here longer, one way or the other. So what I did was I volunteered to make all of the fellow tuba section members, because I'm a tuba player, and I volunteered to make everybody whatever dessert they wanted for their birthday, on their birthday, whether that's cakes or cookies or anything like that. And just because I already did a little bit of baking, just for like, we need some cookies for a party or something, but I wanted to get more into it, and it's a really relaxing thing for me to do. But at the time, I also wanted to ingratiate myself with everybody else. There's a train coming by. You're probably going to be able to hear that. So yeah, I wanted to ingratiate myself with them and also get to bake the stuff and get better at baking it.
Sure.
But since then, I have some favorites. I like making pies, but pies are probably the hardest thing to transport. So I mainly stick to cookies. My favorite cookie is definitely the chocolate crinkle that I make sometimes.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, because I've never screwed those up. I've made them like probably 20 times at this point, and they always turn out exactly the same, with or without me doing a good job. So it's really cool to have something just in the back pocket like that if I know I need to have a successful batch of cookies. But
sure,
for me, I really like snickerdoodles. That would be my personal favorite, I think.
Yeah, I love those chocolate crinkles. We also love your pretzels. Those pretzels you make.
I made those for a Super Bowl party the first time, I think.
Yeah, I think you've tried a couple recipes on us. I forget which one I liked better, but they're all good. So again, now in addition to Tapestry and baking, you do actually have a full-time job that I think is not really related to most of that. Do you want to tell us what you actually do?
Yeah, it's sort of not related on purpose. I am a software consultant most of the week. I studied mechanical engineering at UT. And I enjoyed the coursework, but I didn't necessarily know that I would enjoy the actual work, like post-grad. So I just looked around for anything that involved computers or problem solving, project work, things like that. I know I didn't want to do the same thing every day, like as same project for a long period of time, or same like area of industry. So I thought consulting would be decent. And I knew I didn't want to do like actual hardcore business consulting, like be an accountant or anything like that. Yeah. So I settled on software, and it's been good. It's a challenge a lot of times because none of the stuff I learned in school is applicable. But I enjoy it, and I get to learn new stuff pretty much every day because I'm always working on whatever software is most relevant at the time and not necessarily just one. So
Right.
I'll switch every 3 months what my main focus is. So it's cool, keeps it fresh. And like I said, it's different from what I do at like St. Luke's or in my free time, just because I like having the contrast.
I know you have what I like to refer to as a real person job. I mean, so, and this is just for my own benefit now, what does like a typical work day for you look like?
I usually sit on my couch right over there with a
So we're
pillow.
in your office right now.
Yes, with a pillow and a laptop on my lap. And I just type away for 8 hours or so. My main client right now is like in another state. And so I never really go in anywhere. I just stay here. And that was the same case before all of this started. So it wasn't much of a change for me. Occasionally I'll go into an office, but.
I was gonna say, do you work for like a firm, or are you just kind of a freelance consultant, or how does that even work?
I work with like a small, I think the term is boutique firm. So it's, we're about 50 people at this point, spread between Houston and Dallas and a few other cities. And I'll chat with them pretty much every day on various things we're working on together or not. But other than that, I mainly just send emails back and forth with the client and do what they need done.
I could get sucked into talking to you all day because I love talking to people who have like non-musical jobs. It's just all fascinating to me. It's like, wow, this is what like most people do. Yeah. But I won't bore everybody with that. Not to say that your job is boring people, but
certainly can be.
Yeah, sure. And as any job can be. Tell us about some of your other hobbies now. So we've talked about baking and obviously acting. You mentioned playing the tuba. Anything else that we should know about Hayden?
Yeah, I was a much bigger tuba player than I am now because I was in like middle school, high school band. I did like symphony band and marching band in college. I don't have as much opportunity to play it now as I did because one, I live in an apartment complex and that would be frowned upon. But two, it's just harder to find like an actual gig once you leave college, which is a bummer. But that's that's the biggest reason I got into the choirs and stuff at St. Luke's is so I would have some other sort of musical outlet. And I take voice lessons during the week just so I have something to be like disciplined about. Otherwise I would just chill out all the time. So it's nice to enforce something of a creative context to make sure that I hit that. But other than that, I play video games. I play Dungeons and Dragons, like I said. I just started a paint by numbers painting. It's very complicated. I might never finish it. I do Legos, not as much as I used to, but
I love Legos.
Step out of frame for a second. This is the thing I've made most recently. It is a Mustang. It's got like full articulation and whatnot. You can open the hood. It's got an engine in there. It's pretty cool stuff.
Oh, that's so cool.
Move, you can turn everything, flip out the license plate, adjust the ride height. Lots of cool stuff.
Did you make that based off of a set or kit, or did you just kind of freehand that? Yeah.
I would never, that was one of the jobs I wanted when I was little, was to be a Lego like set designer. But
yeah, I know one. They love their job. Yeah.
I don't have nearly as many Legos here as I do back in San Antonio, so I don't really have the raw materials to make something like that from scratch. I've got 8 sets here right now, and as opposed to the 45 or something that I had fully constructed back in San Antonio, and the additional 4 or 5 tubs of pieces.
Yeah, no, I have the same thing at my parents' house. And so maybe this is one of them, but do you want to tell us what your 5 favorite things are right now?
Sure. I recently started doing a kind of Sudoku called a killer Sudoku, and I don't want to outrage the Sudoku purists out there, but I find them less boring than standard Sudoku because they have like additional rules and then fewer starting numbers. So like ones, you can't have adjacent numbers be within 1 of each other. Like you can't have a 2 next to a 3 or something like that. Or you have cages which all add up to a certain number. Like you have a cage of 22, and so you need to have a 7, a 5, a 4, and a 6, and that's rectangle. So I've been doing those a lot. Not very exciting. Let's see, let me just look around the apartment. I've been watching The Mandalorian again because I just went and saw the Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary at the Alamo Drafthouse. I can do that as my number 3, Alamo Drafthouse. Before all of this, I went there at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. Usually by myself. I find going to movies by myself really relaxing. But since then, I've gone, I think 3 times since they reopened about a month ago. It's more stressful now, but they have lots of precautions. And I've only gone to ones where there have been like 4 people in the theater total. So that's probably the only way I could be comfortable doing it. But I'm still trying to support as much as I can because that's like my favorite pastime. Been watching a lot of House Hunters International. And sort of just looking at the dynamics of the somewhat obvious coaching that they do to the people that are on it, saying like, okay, you have to be somewhat agreeable, maybe disagree about these things, but ultimately you both have to agree. Right. So it's funny seeing the interplay as the episode goes on. That was 4, right?
I think so. Yeah.
This art right here, it's by an artist from, I think, Nashville named Craig Brabson. He just takes really macro pictures of rust and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. So I have 3 of his around my apartment. This one's like red and it looks like glades or something. That one over there looks like glacial ice, and that one looks like, I don't even know what it is. That one's the side of a ship hole.
And that's all just rust on stuff.
Yep. Various rust colors with like paint that's flaked off.
That's
I
really
have
cool.
lots of art pieces around here, 4 of which I got from artists from the Rotunda Gallery.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have several of those. Oh, that's so neat. I'll have to look him up. I'm sure Sid would love that. Well, we've got to our more stressful part of the episode now, which is our rapid fire round.
No.
So if you need to, get your water there. I'm going to get my timer ready. Now we've had two champions of this now. We had Lisa Curry last week and David Gow at the end of last season win. So who knows, maybe you'll make a trifecta of champions. Get my timer though. Are you all ready?
I don't know. I'm here.
Okay, well, I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute. You have 60 seconds to get through 20 questions. I have faith. In 3, 2, 1. Musicals or plays?
Musicals.
Baking or cooking?
Baking.
What color is your toothbrush?
Black with a white head.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Breakfast. Sunrise
or sunset?
Sunrise.
What's your astrological sign?
Taurus.
Favorite genre of music?
Indie folk.
Cinnamon sugar or salted pretzels?
Cinnamon sugar.
Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Thanksgiving.
Warm or cool colors?
Cool.
Handbells or chimes?
Handbells.
Brunch or happy hour?
Brunch.
To-do list, handwritten or digital?
Digital.
Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Pen or pencil?
Pen.
Outlook or Gmail?
Outlook.
Pumpkin spice latte or peppermint mocha?
Peppermint mocha.
Paintings or photographs?
Photographs.
Lake or ocean?
Lake.
Amazon Alexa or Google Home?
Both Alexa. I have both.
You have just joined the ranks now of our rapid fire champions. Congratulations.
Happy to be here.
I think this is maybe getting too easy or something, or we've opened the floodgates now. Once one person won, it's just gotten too easy. Wow, we're gonna have to come up with a new game.
Yeah, let me explain that last one. I got an Alexa and a Google as part of the same Christmas from 2 different people, which is.
Do you have them talk to each other? Don't they do that?
They can. Mine are in separate rooms. So like, kitchen is Alexa, bedroom is Google.
Oh, I'll try not to say anything because I know sometimes when we're on Zoom with like Sid or something and we'll say, Alexa, do this, his will do it. And he loves to mess with us.
Can I give a Google recommendation? Animal
sure.
of the day.
What's
You
that?
ask Google what the animal of the day is, they'll just tell you about it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll
And
try
then they
that.
have creative challenges at the end, which are clearly designed for children, and they're kind of ridiculous sounding if you are not a child. The one from yesterday was pretend to be a flying squirrel in front of an adult and see if they can figure out what you are.
Oh, that's so funny. That, you know who, Justin would probably enjoy that for his girls. And I'm sure you don't do those things when you're home alone.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I've never written a poem about a bullfrog before.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to have to try that out. We have one too. Well, we're at our last question, which is always, what is one song or piece of music that you would recommend people listen to after watching your interview?
I have a interesting choice that I think is pretty far out there. It's a piece that I did with my brass quintet, the Engineering Chamber Orchestra at UT. It was a group designed to match non-music majors together to do like ensemble performances. But my favorite thing that I've probably played in a small ensemble or big is called Street Song by Michael Tilson Thomas. It's just like a collection of movements for brass quintet, but it's a really, really chill, but also pretty evocative piece. And it's got some really excellent technique, especially in the recording that shows up on Spotify when you look for it.
Excellent. I'm excited to look that one up. I love that kind of stuff. Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today. Sorry, I know I said we were going to try to keep this one to 15 minutes, but here we are.
Oh, well.
Well, I hope we get to see you in a Tapestry performance or something again soon. It's been far too long, but
me too.
But thanks again, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.